Time now for the Educated Retirement Show with your host, Jay Kaplan. Jay discusses reverse mortgages and can answer your questions at 951-922-3532. Call lines are open at 951-922-3532. And now here's Jay.
Well, now here's Jay. And I was just telling Sean that from here, 2 hours seems like a long time, but once I get the show going, it's over before I know it even started. So I know most of you wish it was over before I even get started, but you know, I'm sure there's a couple of you out there actually on here. And there's 2 people watching. I guess one would be me for my monitor and the other's my wife, so that's good. Anyway, welcome to the Educated Retirement Radio Show here on KMET 1490 AM, where we contemplate retirement and how to best prepare for retirement and how to best stay successfully retired. Remember, absolutely meet retirement needs, top off your tank, and make it all the way. Now, where did I get that line from? Phil Walker. He's been he's a repeat offender, but it's been a while, and he is just a wonderful financial planner, but now he speaks to financial planners about what we all think is the best financial strategy for retired people, and that is the home equity conversion, otherwise, or what used to be called the reverse mortgage. So remember, the future is now, no matter whether Hudsucker hit the ground or not. And remember that knowledge is power. And here's the phone number, which is 866-955-2233. That's my quote off-air number. But if you call now, you know what? Why not? In any case, there you go. It is 866-955-2233. 866-955-2233. So yes, it's an easy number for oldies like myself to remember. Speaking of oldies, I am going to be honored by being a guest on Grandpa Speaks tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. Really looking forward to that. There's been no rehearsals, no nothing like that. And he's definitely one of a kind. He's 90 years old now. He has won an Emmy. Got a lot going on, and boy, he went, and I'm sure a lot of you listen and watch his show, you know how young he actually looks, acts, and makes the rest of us feel. So, big plug for him at 9 o'clock every Saturday morning, and tomorrow I'll be there too. So, YouTube channel is on my, take a look at this, drheckham.com, www.drheckham.com. Notice there's only 2 dots where they are, and not to be mixed up with a normal regular doctor. But I have the YouTube channel completely caught up through last week. Take a look. Please subscribe while you're there. You're not going to get a whole lot of notifications unless you sign up for notifications, because signing up for subscribe is different sign up button than notifications. So please do that. So all the recorded shows are there. And, also my link to watch these shows right here and now, as they are also on the KMET website and the KMET application. And at both places, including my website, you can watch, listen, whatever, to all the shows the last several months or so. I'm not sure how far back those go. But mine go back to the beginning of time, since I'm that old. And my day job is at a joint called the Lone Source. It's not really a joint. Well, it's a joint in that it's flexible, so that's good. No arthritis in the Lone Source joint. NMLS number 384565. That is my lending license, California only. And my Department of Real Estate is also California only. And I do not sell real estate, but I like to stay on top of it. 792-630. And believe it or not, I don't have to take any classes. I do, of course, have to pay money to the state. But since I've been a licensee for over 30 years and never had a complaint of any kind, they allow that to happen. So I was just watching the Daryl McCann show. I seem to do that every Friday when he's on, and he is on Tuesdays at 4 p.m. along with Yvette Walker. And they always give me credit for being on their advisory team along with Bill Morris of UCI. Their show is called the Southern California Business Report. It is a really good show to find out what's happening on business, who these business people are that they interview. And, it's always good to find out how they got to be where they are. And some of that, I hope you listened last week or, watch it on the YouTube channel with Rand about licensing, about just taking what you know in real life and monetizing it. I guess there's no better word than that. And you can do that in such a lot of different ways that I certainly never had thought of before. So we have NASA Nellie coming twice. And I don't know whether she's going back to the space station between the two appearances, but I'm listening now. Oh, there goes her retro rockets. So, NASA Nellie, take it away, please.
Today we're going to pay tribute to Stanton Friedman, as his birthday was July 29th, 1934. Stanton was a nuclear physicist and professional ufologist. He worked on research and development for several companies such as General Electric, General Motors, Westinghouse, and McDonnell Douglas, to name a few. And he was the original civilian investigator of the Roswell UFO incident. He supported the hypothesis that, yes, it was a genuine crash of an extraterrestrial vehicle, not weather balloon nonsense, he would say. The weather balloon idea is actually stated in Wikipedia as being fact, which is very curious. I'm not always fond of some of the attitudes portrayed in Wikipedia. You have to do other research on your own, he says. As a student, he was a classmate of Carl Sagan and criticized him for ignoring evidence and data for the existence of extraterrestrials, and always was skeptical of the entire SETI project that Sagan promoted. In 1970, Friedman left full-time employment to pursue scientific investigations of UFOs, and that he did. He gave lectures all over at 600 colleges, 100 professional groups in 50 states, and in 19 countries. He published more than 80 UFO-related papers, appeared on many radio and TV programs. He wrote several books as well, and we met him at the MUFON Symposium.
And we got his autograph with that would be the MUFON Symposium. And before NASA takes off, I believe it was Stanton Friedman that brought the Roswell incident to everyone's eye, because for many years it was just never even thought of. So he brought it to our attention. Is this the okay, this book he wrote with Kathleen Marden, which is Betty and Barney Hills was Betty's niece. And I'll show you an autograph because we're proud of it. Why not? The man passed away last year. I'm very sorry to say. I'm not sure how old he was, but he was really a bright spot in the UFO world of research and just bringing it to people's attention and having discussions. And I love to have those discussions, whether or not you believe in UFOs or not. I do. But what I don't absolutely know is where they come from. Are they from outer space? Are they a different civilization here on Earth, which I believe people like Jacques Vallée and Richard Dolan have talked about, but so be it. In any case, NASA Nellie, are you taking off or sticking? I guess that's our answer. She's gone. So today is International Beer Day, and I don't have anything to show because I am still not allowed to drink any alcohol. I think I'm okay, and I hope to get the go-ahead here before long. Not that I'm a big drinker, but when I do, I love tequila, I love scotch, And yes, I love beer. So beer is one of the oldest drinks, and I think it's one of the oldest drinks because the people were getting sick from drinking water. So beer and wine was good. And this day gives fans worldwide just one more excuse to have around on the first Friday in August, as if they wait for that. Beer has the reputation as the drink of choice for the ordinary worker and somehow manages to unite people in a common cause for good. Now, people seem to separate wine drinkers, the finger in the air. I don't see it that way, with the beer drinkers with the finger up your nose. But it's not exactly how I see things. I think both drinks are excellent. And, I know it's alcohol, and that's another subject. Today's beers continue to be brewed with hops. They make you hop around, herbs, and fruits that add flavor. There's over 100 different beer styles. I know there's way over 100 brands, but I didn't know there was over 100 beer styles. Myself, when I was drinking it, I really liked wheat beer, which was sometimes harder to find until like Shock Top became popular. But the art of brewing beer today remains a skill that employs age-old techniques carefully perfected over centuries. Also today, or August 7th, which is coming up, Sea Serpent Day. Sea serpents, also known as sea dragons, were common in ancient mythologies and are celebrated on August 7th or whenever you see one. They may have been partially inspired by the giant oarfish, which can grow up to 50 feet in length. 50 feet. Now, this is not a serpent. This is not a snake. This is not an eel. It is a fish. And remember, I matriculated in fish. Well, marine ecology. So there are differences that separate one from another. For instance, do you know sharks are not fish because of the fact that their bones are cartilage, not bone matter. But they also urinate through their skin, except the thresher, which is easier to eat and is plentiful, especially out here on the West Coast, and that is a good thing. 50 feet long. Anyway, while outer space is often considered the final frontier, it's the mystery of the Earth's oceans that still captivates explorers and scientists. Celebrity sea serpents move over Nessie, and I don't mean NASA, Nessie, because there's so many others. There is the Gloucester sea serpent. 1639, I think that's the year it was first spotted. Cape Cod, a large snake-like creature with stinger or spear intruding from its head. That could have been an oarfish, sounds like to me, no?
I think that's right.
Here's a scientific photograph of that, and hopefully you see that. And if not, go look for it in the wild. The Willitook, never heard of, travels between Lake Washington and Puget Sound. It's Washington's own version of the Loch Ness Monster. And here's a little picture to go along with that. Picture may be small, but the monster is big. Look at that neck. Man, he's got to stick that head way up high for things to get down his throat. There's Colossal Claude. I never heard of Colossal Claude. Is that a picture?
I think.
We think this is a picture of Colossal Claude. He's got a shorter neck, so he was able to get fatter. In any case, Columbia River, seen in 1934 for the first time, 40 feet long with 8-foot neck. And in 1963, oil workers recorded a video of what they thought was similar to Claude, a 15-foot creature covered in barnacles. So, didn't have to go far to eat. They named this one Marvin. Ongo Pongo, which of course I've heard of, the OGO-POGO creature of the water, lake monster living in the Okanagan Lake in British Columbia, a really big lake, I believe that is, Canada, of course. First sighting in 1872 through the Through years as recent as 2011, the creature is said to be green with snake-like body and a head like a horse, somewhat reptilian. Here is a scientific real picture of Uncle Pongo. What do you think of them apples? And he's smiling. You can tell if he's smiling, right? And there he is. So you can honor this holiday by reading books about sea serpents or watching movies highlighting monsters of the sea, such as Leviathan. Bum, 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 bum. Deep Rising, Godzilla, which I've shown you so many, it doesn't matter. The Host, which I love this film. This was done by the same director that did Parasite a couple years ago and is responsible for Snowpiercer, the movie. I haven't watched the TV show, but the movie Snowpiercer. All of his films are very heavily steeped in class differences in the Korean society, such as it is, I think, also in the Indian society. You got to admit that here in the United States, we have classes, but you know what? We seem to be able to move up and down. And anyway, so one thing that's lucky about us here in this country, The Creature of the Black Lagoon, which I've got all of them, but I don't have it here. I figure everybody knows what that is. The Abyss, which is about outer space, not exactly monsters, but It Came From Beneath the Sea is right here. And that, of course, is a Laserdisc copy. But there he is, pulling down the Golden Gate Bridge. And I'm going to be on Ron Siegel's show in a little bit. And, you know, he automatically sends these emails out saying they need a picture of me, even though they already have it. I sent him a picture of the creature from the, from 20,000, no, from whatever, It Came From Beneath the Sea. Jaws, of course, which you don't really need to see a picture of. It is our 4th of July staple film. And, you know, yes, that is a monster. 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Oh, and how about Mr. Gold over there? This one is the Disney version, which I thought was excellent. And I think I've shown you, I have a, about a 2-foot model of that on my desk right in front of me. But, and I picked it up and showed it to you in the past. I'm not going to do it today. But, of course, this was directed by Fleischer, David Fleischer, and his father was a, a competitor of Walt Disney, who did those magnificent Superman cartoons, which I thought were the darkest, because Superman's usually not dark in any way. But they were, I mean, the whole thing looked dark and spooky, and I love those. Batman, of course, a different story as far as that kind of thing. But anyway, let's just for the heck of it, because I like this movie. Haven't watched it in a while, but we have watched it many times. Beneath the 12-Mile Reef, and you know, having a monster in it wasn't a big part of it. But since it's on the cover and on the posters for the film, let's take another look. It's with who is in it again? Robert Wagner, Terry Moore, Gilbert Rowland. I remember Gilbert Rowland in this film more than anything else. Directed by Robert Webb, and so be it. Anyway, there you go. And I got a couple other Roger Corman monsters, but you know, they are pretty hokey, aren't they? And I told you about the time I did a #1 next to Robert Corman at the Egyptian Theater when the director of the show is crossing her arms because she's heard this too many times. But so be it. Anyway, She Gods of Shark Reef. If you want to see a good movie, don't see this. But if you want to be entertained, absolutely. Here's another one. Creature from the Haunted Sea. Same thing to be said about this. You know, they are entertaining. That's why I got them. And you can't always get them streaming because they are, you know, what I try to think of with Rotten Tomatoes is I usually like a film if it's below 30% Rotten Tomatoes or above 90. So these are definitely below 30%. So what do we believe in here? We believe in challenging the status quo. Families and people need to be active, not reactive. And with that, we will let Phil Walker connect to us. And, you know, he's such a great guest and a must listen. So, Sean, take it away. And everybody else, hang in there. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Educated Retirement Show here on KMET. And as promised, we have our repeat offender and one of our best guests ever, and that would be Phil Walker. And Phil Walker, as I say, I'm going to let him talk more than let me talk. So, Phil, be sure and put that plug in my mouth when I talk too much. I have the ability to talk too much, I think you know. But, you know, Phil was a financial planner, and then now it works for Finance of America Reverse. And his role is to teach financial planners what they don't already know about the reverse or the HECM, and believe me, many of them don't already know. So with that, let me just defer now to Phil and let him tell you his story again, and we'll go from there.
All right. Well, thank you, Jay. I started out many years ago as a financial advisor. Worked for Merrill Lynch for a number of years, also for Morgan Stanley Smith Barney, back when they were Morgan Stanley Smith Barney. They're just Morgan again. And, you know, so I went through both their extensive training programs that they put all advisors through. You know, interesting line of work for sure. You know, guiding people, you know, into retirement, through retirement. Previous to that, had a pretty extensive mortgage background also. And so when the opportunity presented itself to marry the two together, I saw a very unique opportunity to help advisors with this tool that is probably the most misunderstood financial tool in all of financial services. And I can tell you the reason there's so many misconceptions out there. It's because if you go back to the very first reverse mortgage that was ever done in this country, that was in the early 1960s, maybe even the late 1950s, but definitely by the early 1960s. And for the first 3 decades, what we called a reverse mortgage in this country was a product of desperation. It was absolutely a product of last resort. It was exclusively for seniors that were on the verge of losing their homes, and just a very expensive way to, as a last resort, save that home for them. So for 3 decades, that's what the product did. And it wasn't for wealth management clients. It wasn't for, you know, financial planners to help their clients along with. And then in the late 80s, Congress instructed HUD to create something entirely different. And they called it the HECM, the Home Equity Conversion Mortgage. And if you notice, they didn't refer to it as a reverse mortgage. They called their new product a Home Equity Conversion Mortgage. And it was to provide a means of giving this hard asset of real estate, which is typically the majority of an American's wealth and give it liquid features so it can be used in a retirement plan. That's the purpose of the reverse mortgage that we have today. It's for retirement planning. But because for the first 3 decades, what we called a reverse mortgage in this country was a totally different purpose, that's just kind of hung on. And even when they rolled it out, they and explained what it was, we like to identify, it's human nature, we like to identify things very quickly. And so they saw that, you don't have to make payments ever. You can, but you don't have to. The bank pays you instead of you paying the bank. That's a reverse mortgage, right? Well, those were the only 2 things today's product and the old product have in common. Nothing else is in common. As a matter of fact, that old product doesn't even exist anymore. It hasn't existed for decades. So today, part of what I have to do is educate financial advisors that here are all the misconceptions about the product, and here's where you're really supposed to be using it. And we just finished a study, Jay, and I think you heard on my last webinar me talking about this. We just finished a groundbreaking study, one of the most important discoveries in financial planning, probably since modern portfolio theory of the 1950s, a way to dramatically reduce risk for retirees in the retirement planning while helping their portfolios grow substantially at the same time. And that study is going to be published this December in the Journal of Financial Planning. And just to give you the highlights of it, the findings were, let me first tell you the strategy. First of all, anybody with pretty much everyone with less than $2 million in investable assets should have a reverse mortgage line of credit just sitting there at the ready. Everyone. That's finding number 1. Okay. Now, how should they use that? Well, there's a number of ways, but probably the most important way is following any year that we have a down market. The next year, you should take your income for the year from that HECM line of credit or jumbo line of credit, either one, and leave your portfolio alone for a year. In other words, don't take a draw from your portfolio. Now, if you're already at the age to where you're having required minimum distributions and you have to take a draw, then all you do is you have your advisor set up a separate account with the same investments as your retirement account. That could be your IRA or your Roth IRA or whatever it is. But just set up a taxable account with the same investments. Take your distribution that year and just deposit it in that other account so the money stays invested. This simple process does 2 things. Number 1, it allows your portfolio to rebound faster from the down market year, much faster, right? Instead of, if you're still drawing money out as it's trying to come back, it's like swimming upstream. So it stops that. It allows it to rebound much faster. As a matter of fact, my webinar that I do for financial advisors on this is called Preparing for the Rebound. And the other thing it does, which is our discovery and our new study, is it dramatically reduces risk at the same time. So it reduces your risk of these market fluctuations. It reduces your risk of what volatility in the markets does to your income in retirement. So there was probably 5 major findings that we published in this. One of those findings is that volatility in the markets prior to retirement isn't that big of a deal, especially if it's way prior to retirement, right? If you're several years before retirement, volatility is not that big of a deal because you have time for it to come back. You have time for your portfolio to rebound. But when you are retired and you're relying on your portfolio for income, volatility is risk because it immediately impacts your income, right? So if we can take volatility, most of it, out of the equation and reduce that risk for you, retirement gets a whole lot easier, right? Your portfolio grows much faster. It lasts much longer. The final finding was not only does it grow your portfolio and reduce risk at the same time, but on average, it increases your net worth over your life and retirement by 44%. 44
Wow.
increase in net worth.
That's great. That's so important for people to know, or to learn, I should say. They got to learn first.
Yep, absolutely. So if your advisor, don't be surprised if your advisor hasn't talked to you about this, because the study doesn't even publish until December, right? It's just going to get out there really next year, early next year, to the advisor world, to the planning world. The Journal of Financial Planning is essentially the Bible of all financial planning. You know, it goes through rigorous peer review before anything gets published. And so this is a really big deal. This is a big deal. And if you are in that category of $2 million investable or less, and you're not using this strategy, you're taking on way too much risk.
And if you have more than $2 million, myself not included, I mean, yes, I'm included in the way less. $10 also includes in that. You know, yeah, you're talking about a different level of lifestyle, but there's still risk to that lifestyle, even if it's much higher than the 2 million, I assume.
Sure. There's definite applications for people with more wealth. The questions then become, you know, what's your withdrawal rate, right?
Mm-hmm.
The standard safe withdrawal rate that's pretty much been accepted for a long time is 4%. And lately, the last couple of years, there's been some studies on that are really saying, because of the increases in longevity, COVID not included, that maybe it should be 3%, right? And while that doesn't sound that bad, going from 4% to 3%, that's actually a 25% reduction.
Yes, it is.
Right?
Yeah.
It's a quarter difference. And so a lot of people can't take a 25% reduction in income in retirement. Makes this strategy even more important, right? Having that reverse credit line in place so that falling down market years, you just switch where you take your income for the year. And yes, for the people doing the math or in their heads, yes, those calculations include paying off the loan, the accumulated interest over time, all that is factored in. And you still come out.
That's great. Yeah. Absolutely. And also, don't forget people's health. And I'm not talking about, and I know you do some great seminars and webinars on using this for healthcare, but just having a problem or worrying about what's happening to your portfolio. Again, my portfolio has pictures in it, not investments, but worrying about money in general is going to shorten your life, like it or not.
Yeah. And I've actually, I on occasion when I'm doing in-person speaking events, you know, I'll go into a little more detail like that during the Q&A and go, look, you know, let's just assume that we're taking a couple that we're worried about having enough money to make it to life expectancy. It's starting to look like they're going to fall short a few years before life expectancy. That stress, that financial stress, will absolutely shorten your life, right? But if you can make this much of a difference and not have to worry, you know, you can make a difference by many years in how long your portfolio lasts, and take that worry, take that stress out of your life. There's a good chance you're going to live longer.
Absolutely. And of course, the longer you live, the more you need the heck'em too. So it's kind of it's not a vicious cycle. It's a wonderful cycle.
Yeah, it's just you know, it's like insurance in a way. You know, it's not an insurance policy. Yeah. It's an insurance strategy.
I like that. I hadn't heard that put that way before, but yes, you are absolutely right.
I'll let you use that, Jay.
Thank you. All right. I will. I definitely will. And I use what you say so many times. And like I had said to you yesterday, I take some snippets from the recording and of the shows, and I send it to clients also. So yeah, thank you for that. You're really helping, and I don't mean you're just helping me. You're helping the entire country come to grips with what this heck'em really is all about, or even the jumbos, what it's all about, and financial health in general. So thank you for that.
Oh, absolutely. I actually have a personal goal to help 1 million Americans make it through retirement without running out of money. And I'll be short by several million that really could benefit from this, because I can tell you that in the planning world, we know some things that are kind of disturbing. One of them is that, there's a 70% chance you're going to need some form of long-term care in your life.
Yes.
And at the same time, 70% of the U.S. population falsely believes that their health insurance will pay for that care. And it
does not. No.
It does not. You've got to have either the money or an insurance policy in place to pay for your long-term care needs. And quite literally in the planning world, it's the second most, definitive thing that is going to happen to you in retirement. Number one is death. Number two, you're going to need some form of long-term care in your life. It could be in-home care, assisted living, nursing home care. One of those things is probably going to happen. So it's got to be in everyone's financial plan. And so that's one thing that we in the advisor world worry about with the general population. And if you have a financial advisor, I'd be shocked if they didn't address this, because it's just part of what we do, right? Is that forward-looking, educating our clients. The other shocking one, I was speaking at a FA Magazine event a few years ago, Financial Advisor Magazine event in Las Vegas at Caesars Palace, and the CEO of Allianz, big insurance company, was also speaking, and they had just done a study analyzing people's perspectives in retirement, and the average American thinks that they can get a 10% average after-tax return on investment throughout their entire life in retirement.
Wow.
And the whole room of financial advisors gasped.
As they should.
That's not realistic. You cannot expect 10% after tax as conservatively as you need to invest, because you can't afford big losses once you retire, right? Once you retire and you are dependent upon that portfolio for income, you can no longer afford big losses. That's why we changed the portfolio, and we reduce the risk, and we bring in, if they're stocks, they're usually income stocks, and we get bonds involved, and we do everything we can to preserve and create income and reduce risk. This strategy with the reverse mortgage is just a withdrawal strategy that you layer on top of all that. You don't have to make any other changes to your retirement plan or your portfolio. You just add this withdrawal strategy, and you get so much more risk taken out of your retirement. It's astounding.
Wow. And we just need more people and more financial planners to understand that. And with help from people like yourself, we're getting there.
Well, I spoke about this last October at the Financial Planning Association's national conference. I'm doing a recorded presentation for them for this year's conference, so they'll get it again. And these are a lot of the top financial planners in the United States. So the information is starting to get out there, and then when the study gets published in December, it'll be in magazines all over the place. So we're working hard to help as many people as we can.
I know you do work very hard, and you work intelligently also, something I can't say about myself all the time. But, being unfocused in life is kind of, I think, fun in a way. But I don't know if you're focused on other things, but you're definitely focused on, of course, your three wonderful sons and their careers now, what they're doing through school, the football, the other sports, and their futures. But you're also very, very focused on this I'll say reverse mortgage because it will cover both the Heckam and the jumbos. I mean, you do a magnificent job.
Thank you.
Well, it's well deserved, and it's not just me saying so, believe me, because I've talked to a lot of other people in the industry, and we all love you.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that. That means a lot. It really does.
Well, you're welcome, but it's well deserved, that's for sure. So, we also will be looking forward to that study being published in December. You also did a study, I think, that was, or part of, or at least you monitored a study done by the American College of Financial Stuff and Fidelity also on roughly somewhat about the same thing, but maybe not as direct.
Fidelity actually did their own independent study on strategy and confirmed all the growth projections. And the wealth creation that comes from it. That was something that they did internally. Yeah. And I authored another study called the Boomer Effect a few years ago, which was directed at pre-retirees. And so for the folks that are listening that are thinking about retirement because it's coming up in a few years, maybe you're in your, say your 50s at least. And so it's very top of mind. It's kind of your next big goal. Very important that your financial advisor, you get together with your financial advisor and you look at your aging parents' plan around their plan for funding long-term care needs. Because I go back to that number, and this was the premise of that original study published in FA Magazine, was that since 70% of the U.S. population falsely believes that their health insurance will pay for long-term care needs, how is that going to impact everyone else? Well, for a lot of wealth management clients, they might be a first-generation wealth management client whose parents never had a wealth manager, never had a financial advisor. Very good chance those parents are under that misconception, and all of a sudden they're going to find out the hard way when the need arrives, and all of a sudden they have to, they have a long-term care need, and then nothing is in place to pay for it. And so what typically happens is they at some point sell their home, they use those funds to pay for care, and even those funds aren't enough. And one of the
they'll run out, right?
One of the things we discussed in one of my other webinars is, rather than going down that path, is something I call the unplanned path, right? Because most Americans, it's interesting. We're not great savers in America. We never have been. But we're really, really good at paying off our homes in retirement. We're exceptionally good at that. And over 80% of us actually achieve that. And well over 90% of people that have a financial advisor achieve that. So what they do, though, is because they haven't planned for long-term care funding, is they reach a point where they need some help, so they hire an in-home care service, and initially a couple hours a week for that service, not very expensive, but as they age they need more help and more help and more help, and eventually it is more than their budget can handle. So then they sell their home, liquidate that asset, and move into an assisted living facility, which burns through 100% of all that home equity, that nest egg, in 2.5 years.
Wow.
So it's gone at that point. And now how do they pay for the rest of their care? And,
right.
And for most of these people, when they went into retirement, their intention was to pass the home on to their heirs.
And now they can't.
They spent the whole thing on care. Wouldn't it be smarter if early in retirement, they used a reverse mortgage to just extract a little bit of that equity, use that to buy the insurance policy, let the insurance pay for the care needs, and keep the house?
Right.
That's called smart money, right?
Right.
And that's what we do in the planning world is we rarely provide a product to a client that they really need, but we provide products they absolutely can benefit from.
That's
what a reverse mortgage.
I'm gonna use that too, with your permission.
By all means, go ahead.
And let me just preface, I'm just going to have one line to say, but let me preface it by saying that most people think it's the children who oppose the reverse mortgage because, oh no, I'm not going to get the house and I'm not going to get the money. That's not been the case at all.
Yep.
Children usually want their parents to live longer and their parents to live happily.
Right.
So, with that said, this is so much a better way to keep that legacy in place. Because, I mean, one thing that the parents may have to do, and the children will be willing to do, because what I said, they want their parents to live longer if they have money, then the children are going to be chipping in and spending their money on the parents, which, is a good way to spend it, but we don't have to do it.
Well, Jay, I think you've been on my long-term care webinar and fund long-term care with home equity. And by the way, these are all exclusively for financial advisors. And so in that, we've done the analysis, and I think we may end up actually doing, that might be one of our next studies that we do, because we did the analysis of retirement with long-term care insurance, and I'm talking specifically about single premium long-term care insurance, not traditional, on.
Yeah, which makes a lot of sense in this case.
Yeah, single premium long-term care, one premium and you're done. And in the case where they bought the policy and they needed care versus didn't need care versus not buying the policy, need care, don't need care, in both scenarios, the client and the heirs were both better off that they bought the policy. Right?
No surprise there.
The heirs end up with more inheritance, whether they needed care or not, because they bought the policy. But for the average American, it's going to take something like a reverse mortgage to help them buy that single premium product.
Sure.
Normally, that's something just the wealthy do.
And even if you have the money to do it, why take it out of your bank account when you can take it out of your ever increasing equity? And I do mean increasing. I know you do all of this worldwide or countrywide. I hate to use the word countrywide. That reminds me of a company once. But Ron Siegel, whose show I was on, he mentioned that California increase in property values for the last 61 years has been 5.9%. So, as Mad Magazine would have said, what, me worry? No.
Sure. Well, think about this for those of you that are in a jumbo mortgage property in California. A lot of you have seen your property appreciate more than 10% in the past year. So let's just assume that a year ago your property was worth $1 million and now it's $1.1 million, right? You gain $100,000 of equity in 1 year. That 1 year increase in equity could pay for, if it's extracted with a reverse mortgage, could pay for one of these long-term care products that funds, that turns into about almost $500,000, $450,000 typically worth of care benefit through a policy, right? So now you've got all your long-term care needs covered, and you've still got your home.
Yes.
Time. Yeah. And it only took 1 year of appreciation in your property.
Yeah, and who's going to miss that 0.1? The children? No. The parents? No. They're not going to miss that 0.1%.
Well, I told you, we did the analysis. They're better off whether they need care or not. It's a 70% chance you will. Whether you need care or not, you're better off with the policy. You come out ahead.
Yes, you absolutely do.
Typically. I have to throw in typically.
I know, but, it's rare to find somebody that won't, that really won't. And you can't say this is absolute in all cases because it's just not right to do that. But generally speaking, you are correct. And we only have 1 minute to go, believe it or not. And I appreciate you, and so many others do too, so much. I can't wait to get out and meet you for lunch, coffee, whatever, or even to drive by and wave. And you're doing such a great job talking now. I see you're in your car driving at about 90 miles an hour and still being able to give us this great information. So I really appreciate it.
That's just my checking. I'm parked. I promise.
I just get,
My Cal Poly football player just moved back in, and I'm
Uh.
delivering his TV to him.
oh, well, good for
Back
you.
in college, they started
for you.
practice today.
No, I could see in the background that you're not moving. So I just threw that in for the fun of it. We got to have some fun left anyway, right?
Absolutely.
But you know, again, I can't tell you how much I appreciate it and how much I appreciate you actually doing this when you're, doing your other chores and things today. So there goes the music like in the Academy Awards where they were about to pull me off the air. So thank you very much again, and take care.